Hey guys, welcome to Interview Week. So today I have my good friend Kim Fonseca with us, and we are going to be chatting about marriage. And so I'm really excited because I know some of her story. We're going to all get to know more of it today, but she has a really awesome story, so make sure you guys stick around for the whole thing because it'll be good. So anyway, Kim, thank you for being here. And for being willing to share your story.
Absolutely.
So, good.
I have thought many years of how I was being negligent and not being upfront and sharing my story. I feel like that's what the Lord took me through that struggle to do.
Yeah.
To be.
Yeah.
It's part of me, you know?
That's right. You can help people. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. So tell us then, so just give us a little bit of a background of your marriage, how that all started, you know,
all
whatever
right.
you got laid on your heart right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this fella is working in my shop, starts working in my shop where I work. I'm a hairdresser by trade. And he comes in and I get to see his application before he actually comes in to work with us. Mm-hmm. And I can see that his name is Henry, but he wants to be called Andre.
That's interesting.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a weirdo. And of course, the first that I meet the man is coming off of vacation, and he's sitting in my spot where I work when I come into work. And I'm like, I don't know who this is, but you got to get out of my spot.
Right.
And I guess I was sassy enough that he felt it was necessary to pursue me.
Okay.
He was going to put me in my place, I think, was what the idea was. Ended up that he did pursue me. He was a very charismatic man. Everybody loved him. And, you know, everything just moved very, very fast. And I always swore before I met Henry that if I ever chose to marry, it would be for good. I mean, I did a lot of other things that were not how I was taught to behave and whatever growing up. And that was something that I was going to make sure that it was never going to be any different, you know. When Henry came here at 19 years of age, he was a heroin addict. He had been through a couple of overdoses in his life. He had been through not growing up with a mom. The mom left the whole family of 5 kids because she was an alcoholic. And she ran around on the dad. So the dad took all of the kids and raised them in California, Long Beach, California. And then the dad chose to end up drinking himself to death.
Wow. And how old was Henry at that point?
He was 15.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not going to say that Henry wasn't already doing stuff that was bad previous to the 15, but all of the kids pulled together, Henry being the baby of the family, and decided to go their separate ways.
Wow.
And it left him free to do whatever in the 60s.
Oh my God.
In Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
And
so was he at that point then he's like living on his own and doing his own thing, or
he was living on his own.
Okay.
He
wow.
He just so many things, and I don't know all the truths and non-truths. I used to believe everything Henry told me, but soon realized in our marriage that most of the things Henry told me were
embellishments.
Oh yeah. I mean, there might have been a kernel of truth to it.
Right.
But he would blow it up.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things, just so that the people that are watching can kind of really understand how you handled the situation. So you meet Henry, you guys are, live together, you get married, things are not good, right? There's alcoholism, there's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse. You guys end up, he has an experience, he gives his life to the Lord, he's baptized. You guys have some kids. After that, after some years, things just still continue to get kind of rough. He's back drinking again. It's a kind of a rough situation for your kids to be in, so you decide to separate. What caused you to decide to just separate, not to divorce? Was that ever a question in your mind?
Many times, Henry would tell me to just leave, to this and that. I was a stubborn person. Mm-hmm. I mean, Henry and I were, in a lot of ways, very alike. I'm not going to say that he was the only one that was abusive. I could be abusive with my mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, depending on how deeply hurt I was by him, I could hit. I didn't ever want to hurt, but I wanted him to feel the pain I was in when he said the things and did the things he did to me. The Lord showed me, as I said, in all of that struggle, over and over again, the different times that he would be, why didn't you come to me? Where was I in all of this? Mm-hmm. Why weren't you listening? I told Henry many times that it didn't even matter as much that I loved him. It was that I loved the Lord and that I had made a commitment to my marriage vows. I watched a lot of people that I came up with jump in and out of marriage. Mm-hmm. That was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. People have to know that marriage is purposeful. It's a struggle. It's going through this life trying to be one with another person. Trying your best. And so it was my commitment to the Lord more than anything else that kept me in my marriage. When things got to a place where his threats and things became evident that he'd crossed the line, that's when we had to stay away. But I would go daily to see about him, to spend time with him, to take him to church, to spend an afternoon after church with him. So you separated, was there a period of time where you didn't have any communication, or were you, even from the time that you decided, what, this is not good for me, it's not good for the kids, something has to change, so you separate? We were separated in Alexa's senior year, or the summer before her senior year of high school. And I didn't expect when we left the house that it was going to be permanent. Okay. But in that week after, it became very evident that he was getting crazier.
Oh, wow.
And so, there were probably a few months that I didn't have contact with him, but there were a lot of times that I had phone calls and stuff, mm-hmm. To try to make him understand that until he made changes, there was not going to be a family put back together again. Mm-hmm.
And did he ever say let's just call it quits, let's just get divorced?
He said it all the time.
Okay.
He said it all the time, and yet he never made a move to do that. At some point, and I can't remember why I would have done it, other than maybe he was saying he was going to do something to himself, and I was checking on him, but I went to the house, and he had a video camera set up, because I told you he's all about the outside, all about the show. Mm-hmm. He had a video camera set up, and he had slit his wrists. And so I called the police. Mm-hmm. And he was put into a psychiatric facility. And they kept him long enough in a program to where they were able to find out that he was bipolar.
So he had no clue up to that point. Wow.
No. And once that happened, I just wanted to help him to get through his days. Still hoping and praying that he would choose one day to set the drink down. Mm-hmm. And say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I want my family, you know. At that time, it was right around that time when I had found South Point. And I purposely went searching for something because I said, I've got to find some place for my babies to be.
Oh,
you know,
right.
I've got to
It's
find
important.
something, some kind of a help besides myself. Mm-hmm. For my kids. Mm-hmm. And South Point, what's that place? South Point's been our home ever since.
Yeah.
And in all of the explaining and stuff that I've had to do to my family, because of course they never understood why I didn't divorce the man, it's been okay. It's been okay that they've thought the things that they've thought, that they've, you know, they have to process things whatever way they have to process them. And I know I'm their daughter, you know, mm-hmm. And those are their grandchildren.
Right.
And they're going to take things in that perspective. Mm-hmm. The Lord gave me a love for Henry that kind of transcended. And so I then became kind of caretaker for him. I would go and make sure that he had his medicines and all of that kind of a thing. And then we found out that he had cancer.
And just for clarification, how long were you guys separated before he got diagnosed? Well, no, before he got diagnosed with cancer.
Probably, I know he lasted 18 months.
Oh, afterward.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that it was 5.5
years.
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5.5 years of being separated. You know, there's talk of divorce, but you just really never feel like that's God's plan.
I knew that I never could stop Henry from divorcing me. But right. It was never coming from me.
Yeah, you said that, or even just at the very
Absolutely.
beginning, you knew when you got married it
Absolutely.
was forever. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
I watched too much of that, and as I said, I experienced it with my parents, mm-hmm. and that was the most horrible part of life growing up. Was when my parents separated for a while. Mm-hmm. I just felt like every bit of security or anything walked out the door with my dad. Mm-hmm. And my dad has never been the person I needed for him to be, but Jesus has.
Yeah.
Jesus has shown me that he could be my husband, that he could be my dad, that he could be my friend. Mm-hmm. And I just keep getting to experience that. And I want for other people to know and experience it too.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that because, like, as I'm hearing you talk about Henry and knowing the amount of care that you gave to him, even in being separated, you're checking in on him, you're picking him up for church, you're making sure he's taking his medications and stuff, and the care that you're offering to him is what we have in Jesus. Like, he pursues us when we are completely against him. Yeah. He pursues us when we are doing all of the wrong things, when we're self-destructive. Yeah. He pursues us. Yep. And the reason why I love it so much is because I really believe it's only when our hearts have really been changed by Jesus can we do that for others, really.
Right.
And draw strength from him to be able to do that for others.
Right.
And, there's so much divorce in the church, out of the church, everywhere. It's almost, the statistics are almost the same. It doesn't matter if you're in or out. And
needless to say, of course, what is right for me possibly isn't right for everybody. I understand that.
Yeah.
I just want to share that there is a possibility to still stick with the Lord's plan for our life. And I think honoring your vows is one of those things that is a major thing for me to have done.
Well, if we view marriage as opposed to, I just got last month I was reading a book, Sacred Marriage, and it talks about how, what if God's design for marriage was to make you holy rather than happy, He talks a lot about in there just some different things, but even just about the concept of, this marriage points to something more than just this earthly thing, but it's like this bigger commitment between us and Jesus. Jesus is the husband, and we're the church is the bride. And I think what you have done, the story that you have to share, I think is a great illustration for people about, it's backwards kind of, because you're the bride and he was the husband, right? But you're pursuing him and you're showing him love that makes no sense to people that might be around you. And that's what Jesus offers to us, this love that just makes no sense. Why would you continue to pursue me when I want nothing to do with you, right? But he does that.
I had many people in church that didn't understand it. I'm saying my other church. And there probably were people within South Point that didn't understand it.
I'm sure.
But it was okay because God showed me, and that was all that counted. He showed me in the Word. He showed me in the messages that I heard during those times. He showed me in the healing that He gave to me. He showed me in so many ways, and I had the support that I needed to push forward.
Sure.
To go on.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to end with two questions because I think this is important for anybody who's watching. There could be some women that are watching this that are going through a similar situation. Maybe, you've talked about a lot of different things from, his background and how that played into his life, your background and how that played into your life, his addiction, mental illness. There's a whole lot of things that were going on there, abuse and all that stuff.
Right.
Any of those things could have pricked somebody's heart, that's watching this. So for anybody who might be going through just a really tough situation, what kind of advice would you give to them?
I don't know, other than turning to the Bible, because those are Jesus' words to us, other than being still, trying to make sure that you listen. Don't make hasty anything. I did those things. You don't have to.
Don't make hasty choices, right? Yeah.
But more than anything, I would hope that I would be able to be just a listener and an advocate for that person to move forward with the Lord.
Yeah, so very good. Awesome. If you're somebody that's watching and maybe you're going through a rough marriage, or it could be even just a friend or a child that is struggling with alcoholism or mental illness, and you'd like to get a hold of Kim, you can shoot me a message and I will pass it on to her.
Needless to say, if you can get into a program, I know that South Point has a program that's not necessarily AA. It's more Christ-centered than AA. But even if AA is a huge, huge place to get help, to be able to tell your story and know that there are other people there that are experiencing the same thing you're experiencing. You won't believe when you go in and listen to other people's stories that are in possibly alcoholic or drug related situations, the things that come up that tie it all together.
And having a place where people are going through the same situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can feel very alone, especially
Yeah.
like in church. If you're struggling with something and
Yeah.
you're like, nobody else here is dealing with this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
so alone.
Yeah.
And so, to find community
Yeah.
so that you guys can encourage each other and uplift each other.
Yeah.
And anytime that Jesus is the, the essential part of
Yeah.
all of that, that's a good deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so awesome. Awesome.
Even with my depression, a lot of the time I felt that if my walk was just better with the Lord, then I wouldn't have to be experiencing this. That it's got to be that I'm just off.
I've done something.
Yeah,
Something I've done wrong.
Yeah, or I'm paying. Mm-hmm. It's my consequence.
Right.
And I know that we receive consequences. I totally, completely understand that. But it wasn't him. I kept choosing to stay with the stinking thinking that the devil can plant.
Get in there.
Yeah. I know that he can't exist in me. But guess what? He hangs on every part of me. And sometimes he gets really heavy.
Oh, yeah, but Jesus is bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. In Jesus' name.
That's right. Get out of here. Out. Be gone.
Oh,
my
golly.
goodness. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kim, so much.
I love to spend time with you.
Yes.
Thank
it
you
was a
for
good deal.
asking me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, guys. You guys have a good week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.